We are coming to you from the city beautiful Chicago, Illinois, where this afternoon WGN Sports presents White Sox baseball. It's Rick Renteria and his young White Sox as they get set to butt heads with the defending world champion, Houston Astros. Hi, everybody, and welcome. I'm Ken Harrelson with Steve Stone as we get set to bring you the finale of this three-game set. As you know, we have had our butts kicked royally in the first two. They won the opener 10-0, and then yesterday we did score a run. We got beat 10-1. But the Astros certainly showing why they are defending world champions.
This team got off to a slow start. If you can say 15-7 is a slow start, but they did. And now they're in first place, and they'll stay there for quite some time. We'll take a look what's happened to these Astros. That is why they're champs. The batting average is .347, 20 runs, 4 home runs, the ERA ridiculous, and the whip, well, hardly anybody getting on base. So they've dominated in this series, but they're going to dominate a lot of teams this year. Hawk, this is one of the best teams in baseball.
Well, they're two of the best young pitchers in baseball out there on the bump tonight.
Really nice to see two youngsters going out on the mound. Lance McCullers for them, Ronaldo Lopez for us. And McCullers has great stuff, but his ERA is over .550. Last time out, 11 strikeouts against Seattle. He's got a wonderful curveball. And when it's right, nobody hits it. Moving fastball, he throws 96, 97. This is an impressive youngster. He's at the tail end of their starting rotation, giving you an idea about that starting rotation. On our side of the equation, Ronaldo Lopez goes to the mound. His ERA has been wonderful. He can't get a whole lot of run support, so he hasn't had a win this year. Maybe today is the day. Here he dominates Oakland. The young man only has one problem, that is a bit of control, but the stuff is there. He's going to be a top of the rotation starter at one point. You see what he did against Oakland, throwing the ball well. 10 strikeouts, just 4 walks. McCullers, the 11 strikeouts and only 1 walk. Two good youngsters going head-to-head. An exciting day today in the finale of the series, and then Seattle comes to town.
All right, indeed it is a finale, so sit back, relax, and strap it down. White Sox baseball coming your way.
Major League roster in their minor league system also. But to be successful, those young players need veteran leadership, which they're finding valuable in their development.
I met a lot of the guys, Nicky Delmonico, I met him, Berger and Sheets, who were drafted this year. They were the first guys I met. Carson Fulmer and Giolito. I mean, a lot of the guys have reached out to me.
The veteran presence was awesome. They really kind of are doing a fantastic job of showing the young guys how it's done, you know, how to be a big leaguer, how to go about things the right way.
The major league guys go and reach out to the minor league guys, so I think it's just a real community here. The young guys mesh with the older guys mesh with the young guys.
So a lot of us are making our way through the system and kind of came up together, kind of grew together, and we're pairing that with a great manager.
I feel like Rick did a great job from spring early on, and you know, he kind of set the tone on how we're going to play, how we're going to hustle, and everybody bought into it.
It's interesting how the minor leaguers view the young major leaguers as veterans, and those same young major leaguers value the leadership they're getting from the older guys on the team. So stay tuned. Today's series finale coming up. Day. We'll take a look at the volunteer corps and how they greeted the White Sox coming out on this beautiful Sunday at Guaranteed Rate Field. Wind is blowing out toward right and right center field, and players are very happy to be greeted by the young volunteers who have come out and helped them on their way. So let's take a look at how the Astros are going to line them up today. George Springer leading it off with Jose Altuve in the 2 spot playing second base. That's Carlos Correa, Josh Reddick, who's had a red-hot series, Alex Bregman, Marwin Gonzalez, Evan Gattis, Max Stassi, and Derek Fisher rounding it out playing left field. And the White Sox defense and how Ricky is going to throw them out there today. It's Nicky, Lurie, and Avisail in the outfield, with Yolmer, Tim, Yohan, and Jose in the infield. Wellington Castillo gets a nod behind the plate, and the hard-throwing Ronaldo Lopez on the hill. Doesn't have much to show for his 1.42 ERA. This is his 4th start. He's thrown it very well. Opponent's batting average against it 129. Shows you how good the stuff is. Few too many walks, but he's thrown it well. The umpires for the game today: Manny Gonzalez behind the plate and Jeff Nelson at first, with Laz Diaz at second, and Andy Fletcher is at first. So we're ready to play baseball, and I'm ready to welcome my play-by-play partner, Ken Harrelson.
All right, Stoney, thank you. And once again, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to White Sox baseball finale of this 3-game set. Sure be nice on a beautiful afternoon here in the beautiful city of Chicago to get a win. Sox have been scuffling lately, as you know. As now that clock is ready. And here's George Springer. Some good arms, some good talent out on that bump.
Things that might give you cause for some hope. The Astros have not been catching up to the good fastball, and Ronaldo Lopez certainly throws the good fastball.
I would suggest that probably not a whole bunch of teams been catching up in this kind of weather with good fastballs.
No, I don't think the pitchers can feel their hands, and I know that there's no doubt that the hitters have a hard time, especially if they catch an inside fastball or two and their hands buzzing for a few innings.
Well, they keep protecting. That's what happens when this is cold. Hitters protect against the inside fastball, so now that makes them more vulnerable to the outside part of the plate. Is Moncada. Nice play. 1 out.
The 2018 Chicago White Sox are presented by Guaranteed Rate. You can put it on the board with a perfect mortgage from Guaranteed Rate. Experience the difference at rate.com.
And boy, here is a guy who is becoming one of the fan favorites all over baseball. Jose Altuve.
You know, when you look at Altuve, you look at Dustin Pedroia, it really reminds you, Hawk, you don't have to be gigantic to star in this game. That's 2 MVPs, the current MVP and Altuve. Pedroia a few years back, the MVP, and together, they probably don't get over 5-6.
Well, one thing about it is that that's what makes baseball such a wonderful game. They come in all sizes and all shapes to play baseball. It's hard to say that about any other sport.
Oh, this is it. This and jockeys.
I've had the pleasure of meeting quite a few jockeys in my life, and I'll tell you what, they are wonderful guys.
They're also really strong men. People don't realize that wrapped in that very small body has got the hands and wrists and forearms of giants.
Well, probably the most generous people in all sports. People ask me all the time, oh, who are the most generous athletes? And right away I tell them jockeys. They are in sports the most generous. It's hard to categorize the rest of them in order. I would say baseball's after jockeys. Baseball's right there. And I would say probably at the bottom end of that spectrum is golfers.
Well, baseball, the organizations are very philanthropic all around baseball. They do great things for their communities and nationally.
So there is ball 4. Altuve 1 for 2 in stolen bases. Astros come in hitting at 254 as a club, but on the other side of that ledger, they have a 2.28 team ERA, which is something that's just, especially with the DH, unheard of.
Well, they're dominating in the starting rotation. Their rotation is as good as anybody, probably better than most, and the bullpen is very good. So top to bottom, it's hard to beat that pitching staff.
Well, in my time zone, we saw some ERAs like that, but usually they were from either the Baltimore Orioles or the Chicago White Sox, who were perennial leaders in team ERAs.
The biggest difference in those days, Hawk, was 9 or 10 man pitching staffs, and today, almost without exception, it's 13, and if they go with 12, it gives the manager another move, but most of them go with 13 in the staff and 3 moves off the bench.
Well, it was a different game
completely
back in those days. An entirely different game that's played today. That's the first thing we used to look at Baltimore. If Earl would come north with 8 pitchers, we knew we were in trouble. Earl Weaver, of course, the manager of the Orioles, Hall of Fame manager. He usually came north with 9, couple of times 10. And if he came with 10, we knew we had a shot.
We had 9 when we left. We had 5 starters and only 4 men in the bullpen, and you had an all-purpose pitcher, the guy that could start or could go long, and you had a couple of short men and 1 in the middle, and that was it. That's all you needed, 9 guys, and they made it work.
With that stuff they had, they should have. There's a base hit. So the 1-out walk, base hit by Correa.
Low inside fastball, Correa just turns on it, gets a good part of the bat on it. He's driven in 18 so far. He's in line to have just a big year. And that's what A.J. Hinch said to him about putting him in an RBI spot. Didn't want him to take a whole lot of pitches. He wanted him to drive in runs, and that he is doing.
Here's Josh Reddick at 267, 6 homers, 15 knocked in, had a grand slam yesterday. After Lucas had some control problems, a lot of control problems. Walked the bases loaded and poof, 4-0 in a hurry. Made it 6-0.
Yeah, this is a real bad ball club to start walking people because they do have some thunder, and Reddick has had a wonderful series.
Well, it's a little easier when you're hitting in a lineup like this. It's a little easier to have a better year.
There's no doubt. Sometimes you get lost or you get overlooked. But one of the things, if Ronaldo wants to go right back there, throw the ball inside, up above his belt, he's not going to hurt you, especially on that fastball.
It makes so much of a difference in the kind of lineup you're playing in. It's just unbelievable, and it's never talked about that often. This is talked about some, but not to the degree that it should be, and to the park you play in. But the lineup is more important.
They got a good park in Houston, but this is this is a better hitter's park than Houston.
This is maybe the best hitting ballpark in the American League. Low fences, and if you got low fences like we do, it's 330 down the left field line, 335 down the right field line, 375 in the gaps, and 400 straight. If we, in my time zone, we would have called this a bandbox.
Well, it plays like that. If it get any warmth at all, the ball just flies out of here to any field.
Castillo controls. So the count 2-2.
There's Ricky and Don Cooper. Ricky Renteria on the left, Don Cooper on the right. Don Cooper wants a long performance out of Lopez, as that bullpen has been used and abused the last couple of nights. But Lopez usually goes fairly deep in the game. He'd like to limit his pitches in his first inning. Then he'll start to sail through.
Just got a piece of it.
He's trying to duplicate the second pitch of the at-bat, which was up, in, and right by Reddick, who has a classic uppercut swing of a home run hitter.
Oh, a left-handed home run hitter.
Yeah. Yes, he is.
Yeah, he's got some pop. There they go. And that's popped up. 2 down. Nicky is there.
What does a hitting background mean to you as a hitter, Hawk? Because right now, I mean, it's going to get a little greener. It's going to get a little darker in the hitting background. Right now, this time of year, it's not quite as dark as it will be. Does that affect you at all as far as sight lines?
Some parks, yeah. I mean, day games in old Tiger Stadium, or Brick Stadium, and then became Tiger Stadium in Detroit. Day games, you can hardly see the ball.
Well, that's good, though.
Well,
good for me. Not so good for you.
That's when they had, 40, 50,000 people in there. And then Fenway Park in day games, very tough. If you had a guy over 6'4", which was not that many guys pitching over 6'4" back in those days. Then if you had a tall right-hander, tough to see. Old Cleveland Stadium, if you had a tall like a Sam McDowell 6'6" coming out of that scoreboard, tough to see. So it depended on the ballpark. A park that always had, even though they had a great staff, the park that always had some good luck with was Memorial Stadium in Baltimore. I saw the ball really good. And when you see the ball really good like that, you pick up the spin quicker. And if you pick up the spin quicker, you definitely hit off the fastball. And then you have a better chance of making some good contact with a slider or a curve.
Well, you hear the statement. You don't hear it quite as much now, but you hear the statement slider speed bat. Does that mean a guy actually looks for a slider, or that means that he's not able to catch up to the good fastball?
No, he can't catch up to the good fastball.
So that's a kind way of saying his hands aren't quite as quick as they should be?
That's the current culture, PC.
The slider speed bat?
Yeah, that's being nice. So that'll load him up with 2 out. Second walk of the inning.
As we told you pregame was the one problem Ronaldo has had. It's a problem a lot of youngsters have, especially coming out early with all that adrenaline, is they cannot harness the control early.
I watched the game yesterday. You really brought some terrific, articulated is a better way to put it, articulated some very good points about young pitchers. I mean, young pitching is a different ball game in the major leagues as compared to a 3 or 4 or 5 or a veteran.
Well, how many guys do you really believe in the minor leagues can hurt you in a lineup?
Yeah.
Couple? Maybe
tops.
Right. And in the major leagues, they got 5, 6. Some guys, some lineups have 7 guys can hurt you.
Yeah, that was my heart is yours, and Jason's heart went out to Lucas Giolito yesterday. Lucas got out there, and here's a guy that finished up so strong last year and has got a chance to be a real stud. And he just had no idea where he was yesterday.
No, he was very frustrated. And, you know, he had a great spring, so there was no indication that he would start out as slowly as he has. But he'll come around. He's too good a pitcher,
sure
too smart a pitcher to be able to stay where he was last night, which was really frustrating for him.
What we're seeing now is a team with going through growing pains. And there's no excuses because you can't blame the weather because it's cold for the other team as well. If it was just cold for our guys, that's one thing. But it's cold for both teams. So take that out of the equation. What we're seeing is a bunch of young, talented kids who are trying to do too much. But if there is one thing that has caused us to get off to what you would call a terrible start, it's been defense. The first rule in baseball is at major league level. If you're going to try to win ball games, you can't give the other team more outs than you're getting. If we're getting 27, you're going to give them 29 or 30. You're giving them an extra inning to hit. And they're going to beat you. It's just that simple. Our defense has been atrocious.
It has been that.
And it's not so much the number of errors that are committed, it's the number of plays that hadn't been made. He's going to get out of it. Timmy making the call, taking charge, makes the catch. And that'll retire the side. But he threw a lot of pitches. They stand free. And after half inning of play, it's their guys nothing and the good guys coming to bat.
Juan Moncada leading it off with Javi Garcia in the 2 spot. Then it's Jose Abreu, 2 home runs, 6 runs driven over the last 8. Then Delmonico, Castillo, Davidson, Sanchez, Anderson, and Garcia round out the lineup. The defense for A.J. Hinch and his Astros. It's Fisher, Springer, and Reddick in the outfield with Bregman, Correa, Altuve, and Marwin Gonzalez at first base. They're jack of all trades. Max Stassi behind the plate, and Lance McCullers Jr. on the hill, the hard-throwing right-hander. The oddity for McCullers is he does not throw a curveball in the bullpen. He does not warm up his curveball at all. He says, I know how to throw it. First time I throw it, it's going to be right out on that mound I'm working at. And there you look at so far. This is 5th start, 2-1, but the ERA up there. So a whole lot of people would love to have this guy in the middle of their rotation.
And before we show you our picks to click, you at home select yours. As here's Moncada. That's an oddity.
I've never heard anything like that before, but that's what he does. He says, I have a feel for it. I know how to throw it. So to throw any down there are wasting it as far as he's concerned.
No, I've never. That's the first time I've ever heard of a pitcher didn't throw it. Now, I know one thing. The best year that I ever had, Bobby Dorr was the hitting coach, and we in spring training, first day, he tells me, he says, Hawk, I've been thinking about you, and he says, I want to try something if you'll go along with it. I said, what's that, Bobby? He said, you're a terrific fastball hitter. He said, in this spring, the only thing, if you go along with it, the only thing I want you to see in batting practice are fastballs. I don't want you to see one curveball, one slider. I might be the only hitter you've ever heard of or seen go through a whole spring training and never take a breaking ball.
Were you the only guy on the team that did that?
Yes. And I had the best year I ever had.
What was his purpose to that?
Because he just wanted me to see more fastballs. I was a good up and in fastball hitter because back in those days, guys were good high ball hitters. And I was a good up and in hitter. As he gets him.
That's that curveball, and it's a freezer. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if he throws it to right or left-handers. It just seems to buckle the knees because it's quick, it's late breaking, and it's usually in the zone. So much so that this guy's going to throw 3-2 curveballs to left-handers 85 to 90% of the time, and to right-handers 75 to 80% of the time at 3-2.
That's a Nelson Briles type thing. Nelson Briles, former right-hander with the Cardinals. Pretty good pitcher. And Rangers. But here's Avi. But you know, we were talking about young hitters. And the same thing holds true with young pitching. These guys, these young pitchers, some of them can handle things quicker. Not better, but quicker than others. They all can handle it. Oh, they're all pretty good athletes or they wouldn't be here. But you were talking about yesterday some of the nuances of young pitchers and how they just have trouble. If you got to have your good stuff and your good control to win a major league game, you're not going to win a whole bunch.
No, you win maybe 6, 7 a year. With the really overwhelming stuff 7 times a year.
All right, when you won the Cy Young, 1980, percentage-wise, how many starts did you have?
37.
Of the 37 starts, how many times you have your good stuff and your good control?
Probably that year, I would say 10 max.
Exactly.
10 max.
Exactly.
Right? And the art of pitching is learning how to win with less than your best.
That's one reason I used to love to watch Blackjack McDowell. Is Avi busting it down the line. That's going to be a base hit.
We'll take another look, and the fact that just about each and every one of these guys hustles puts the pressure on the defense. Bregman knows he's got to hurry, and on the short hop, it comes up, hits the heel of the glove, bounds away, and Avi's got a hit.
He knows he's got to hurry, first of all, because he knows Avi can run, and he knows he's going to be busting it because the White Sox are already getting that reputation. I've talked with some other players. They bust their behinds down the line.
And when you don't, on occasion, you wind up observing the rest of the game from anywhere other than the field.
As well you should. Yeah. Here's Abreu. Yeah, very seldom do you ever see a young pitcher come into the major leagues and sustain consistency. Very seldom.
Well, they don't understand how, because they've dominated every level by the time they get here, they don't understand what adversity is like and how to overcome it and how to win on days when it's just not there for you.
Yeah, a lot of times they'll be warming up in that bullpen and they'll pitching coach, they give me a slider down and away to Sammy Smith or Jimmy Jones, whoever, right-handed hitter. The guy throws it perfect. He said, now, that's the way to do it. Well, they don't understand. Sometimes that perfect slider, when he throws it in the game, goes into the right field bleachers.
It was a perfect slider, except Sammy Smith was looking for it.
He did not go. And right now, let's check out our picks to click. Jim Angio, our director and crew, went with Leary. Steve's going with Wellington. Fans are going with Johan Moncada. And David Novak, Puyi Hyundai, and also George Jacobs of Windy City Limos. Now we're going to go with Yolmer Sanchez.
That's your Audi picks to click, brought to you by your local Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana Audi dealers. Visit AudiOffers.com for exceptional deals. That's as radical a shift as we've seen on Jose. I mean, Springer is way over in right center field, and I mean, you look at left field, you're hard pressed to find a left fielder.
Well, that's a tell to Jose.
Yeah.
You can just take the straight change out of the equation.
Yes, it is. Well, look, you've got Fisher as far off the left field line as I've ever seen a left fielder play.
Yeah, that's about me too.
He's between the United and the Wintrust signs.
Breaking ball. Back him up. And after one, there is no score.
Trying to send the best wishes possible to Danny and his family. There it is on the hats today. And there's a lot of people that wish him well, and Ricky Renteria addressed it before the game.
We talked to the players yesterday a little bit just to make sure that they knew that, you know, obviously he's stable and he's still in critical condition. He's stable. But that the best thing for us to do is just give them space. We don't want him to get too excited. You know, we want to make sure that the medical staff is doing what they can do. We give them room to do what they need to do. And then at the appropriate time, I'm sure everybody will let us know when it's okay to go ahead and reach out and go see him.
Danny, our prayers and our hearts and thoughts are with you, buddy. You and your family. That was scary.
Boy, was it.
That is high into right field off the bat of Evan Gattis. 1 out. You know, we were talking about how important it was for hitters to be hitting in certain lineups to really develop well and play better. Well, the same thing holds true. We're looking at a perfect example today of Ronaldo, who comes in 0-2 with a 1.42 ERA. And McCullers coming in with 2-1 with a 5.57 ERA.
Well, they got some thunder in this lineup, and they didn't start hitting. In fact, they weren't hitting very well until coming here, and all of a sudden they found their bats. But this lineup is going to generate a lot of runs because they've got speed, they've got some power up and down through the lineup, and they're pretty deep, so they do attack you 1 through 9.
And they play hard.
Yeah, they do.
That's what impresses me. The eyes don't lie. The mouth does. You watch how hard a team plays. Even our guys now coming in at 4-13, losing 6 in a row, they're still playing hard. Two and one. Stassi hitting at .310, a couple of homers. He's driven in 7. Max Stassi.
He can run into one every now and then. He's got decent enough power, but he's not in there because of his bat. He can catch it, throw it, block it, and call it, and he does it very well. A little bit better than McCann, who's the incumbent. McCann with a much stouter bat.
McCann, a 7-time All-Star.
Yeah, he's pretty good, and he's a huge force in the middle of that lineup, giving him a lot of balance between right and left-handed power.
And he's a huge force when it comes to being very vocal in that dugout when it calls for it.
Join us as the White Sox take on the Minnesota Twins on Saturday, May 5th at 6:10. The first 20,000 fans will receive a Los White Sox soccer jersey presented by Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling. So to purchase tickets, visit whitesox.com.
Yeah, that is one of the things about guys like a McCann, like a Ray Fosse, who's now an announcer with the Oakland A's.
By the way, he said to say hello to you. We just saw him out in Oakland. He's looking great. He's doing well. And he wears suits and ties now. I think it's wonderful. I mean, they finally classed him up.
Ray's one of the best teammates they ever had. Very quickly, 1, 2, 3. And after an inning and a half, still nada. Scene. In fact, I've got it in my iPad and my iPhone. I just love it. It's when Carlos Gomez hit that home run, and McCann would let him get to the plate.
Yeah, he didn't like the way he went around the bases that day.
That is high, 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 and Nicky just missed it. Wow.
Enjoy Guaranteed Rate Field just as a player. Play catch in the outfield, warm up in the bullpens, visit the dugouts, and much more. Take your experience to the next level and purchase a premier ticket that includes hitting in the batting cages. Join us for Family Field Day on Saturday, May 12th and support Chicago White Sox charities.
Here's Castillo. Wellington at 225, a couple of homers he's driven in 4.
Colors has very good movement on that fastball. It's a 2-seamer bearing in on the right-handers. Throws it 94, 95 miles an hour.
Well, there's not a staff in Major League Baseball he couldn't pitch him.
No, and when you look at where he is in the rotation and you realize that there's a whole lot of guys ahead of him, you realize how strong this staff is. You got Verlander, you got Keuchel. I mean, you look up and down, they got a guy that was 19-7 a couple of years ago, Colin McHugh, who can't find a spot in the rotation. Brad Peacock, same thing, 13-2 last year.
Wellington pops it up. Now Bregman's going to take charge, as he should. 2 down. They'll bring up Matt Davidson at 204, 5 homers, 11 driven in. Got off to one of the quickest starts in Major League history. George, I remember George Bell hit 3 home runs in the opening game one year. Can't remember what year it was. And that ball down in the right field corner, he's not going to get it. Stay fair, it will. So the 2-out double. That's the second 2-bagger of the season.
Nice job by Matt as he goes opposite field. This ball is low and away, stays right down on it. If you keep your head down on it, and I know Hawk likes that short, quick finish that goes straight up out of Paul Konerko. What does that do for a hitter?
He gets you to the ball quicker. He gets you to the ball quicker. The finish will tell you almost everything about a swing. He keeps his hands in front of his chest. That's a Konerko type action right there. Probably one of the best fastball hitters, certainly in the last 50 years in this game. And when he was swinging it good, his hands never left the front of his chest.
And nobody could throw a fastball by him.
No, I don't care who it was. You know, there was another guy that hit 3 home runs one year, and he played for the Cubs.
George Mitterwald.
No.
Oh, opening day, Tuffy Rhodes?
Tuffy, that's
yeah,
it.
because George hit 3, and I think he hit 10 for the year, but Tuffy hit it off Dwight Gooden.
Yeah, Tuffy hit opening day.
Yeah, and Gooden was so mad that he said, I'm not going to lose to this team too much anymore. And I think he went, the first 28 decisions, I think he went 24-4. So it aggravated it.
Oh, what stuff he had. And George Bell, well, he got him off a pretty good pitcher, too. That was 1988 opening day. He hit it off one of the most underrated, under the radar, great pitchers in the game, Brett Saberhagen.
Well, he was a Cy Young Award winner.
He was 4 quadrants. He was down and away, down and in, up and away. He could pitch.
He could that.
2 out, 3-1 to count. Just give him that one, tip your cap, Elmer.
Well, there's that curve, and odds are overwhelming. You're going to see another one right here because he loves the curveball, and he feels he can control it as well as anybody in the league.
3-1 backdoor curveball grab.
Well, you're not going to swing at it.
No.
You're going to hope he misses with this one, but I would think that another one is forthcoming. Yep.
We were talking about these guys. You know, from my standpoint, being a right-handed hitter, the guy that I would hate to face the most on this whole staff was that left-hander, Keuchel.
Sinker baller, big curveball, and a good straight change.
That you just mentioned it. There's the base hit by Yolmer. Here comes Matt. Yolmer on his way to second base. Ball gets away, so he's safe, and it's a 1-0 Sox lead. Yes.
Yolmer hits double digits, 10 runs driven in. Well, there's another hook. 3 straight. And you don't have to look at tendencies. You just know that 3-1, 3-2, McCullers will go to the curveball. And Yolmer takes it through the right side, and then the run scores easily. Then it's a race between the arm of Reddick and the flying feet of Yolmer, and Yolmer wins it.
David Novak and George Jacobs picked the click. So here's Tim. Knock him in. Don't stop now, boys. Well, if he gives him that pitch, which is just off the plate, but still too close, you know, to argue about. But if he gives him that pitch, then our guys are in trouble. Off the end of the bat, broke it. Clutch 2-out single by Yolmer Sanchez, and we'll go to the third, leading 1-0. $9.99. 300 texters going to win a $30 gift card. Subway, so much sandwich. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the second best golfer in the booth, WGN's own Dan Roan.
Wow, wow, wow. That's high praise.
Well, Steve, now you're bragging.
No, not me. It's not me. Both you guys can kill me now. But
let me tell you something. My golf game, I suck.
Well,
I can tell you that right now.
Who's got one? It hasn't been over 50 degrees until today.
No, Steve's right. Silk, like I call him Silk, because he's so smooth. That swing of his.
You're the man.
But he is a heck of a player. I can tell you that. If he shoots 72 at you, don't be surprised.
I've shot 72. In fact, every time I've played, I've shot 72.
And then you stop playing.
Exactly. Stop about 14. I just wanted to come up and say hey to you guys and Hawk, pay my respects. I know this is the last lap for you here this summer, and man, it's been a lot of fun. We have had a lot of good times.
Yes, we have. It's been a long time we've been together. The only thing, you know, it's something that, you know, that it's a double-edged sword as far as, you know, remorse a little bit and happiness. I saw my grandson play a ball game yesterday, and I'm going to see him play another ball game tomorrow. And I took my grandson out to hit some golf balls also yesterday. So that's things that I haven't been able to do all these years. And now I'm able to do it. And I'm lucky I have two up here, 2 wonderful grandsons. I got another wonderful grandson down in Orlando. So it's a little piece of heaven.
Well, I mean, you deserve it. You put a lot of time in as a player, as a broadcaster, front office there for a bit.
Don't go there.
I wasn't going to elaborate. I was just going to mention it. Just bring it up in passing.
Well, you know, I tell you, all this is that everybody who's been so nice and everything, and all around the country, these like tributes. It's just a tribute to my wife.
Well, there is no doubt about that.
It's a tribute to my wife, my beautiful wife, Eris. 45 years we've been together, and she's the one that raised those children. She's the one that's helping raise our grandchildren. She's been the mother, the father, and everybody. Because as you mentioned, I've been gone so much, and even in the, you know, as that's out number one. Even in the winter, I was playing in golf tournaments, you know, trying to supplement our income. And unfortunately, all the money I won off those guys for all those years, they're getting it all back now.
Well, of course,
with interest.
What goes around comes around.
That's exactly right.
Speaking of golf, I'll never forget you making that eagle on the 18th hole at Stonebridge in that Champions Tour event.
Oh, yeah.
On that Sunday.
I didn't do that.
Yeah.
That was Hawk.
Yeah. Well, it was Hawk, but it was sensational.
Well, what he's talking about, I was playing. I had a chance. If I shoot 64, 65 today, I had a chance to win it. I think I shot 69, 70 the first 2 days. So I'm playing with Larry Ziegler and Homer Blanca. So we come up to the 18th hole there, and I'd blown myself out. I'd three-putted a couple of greens. And I got about a 30-footer for eagle at 18. And I couldn't do this. I get up over the ball, and all of a sudden, Hawk sees the line. He said left to right, 30-footer. And he backs off the ball. He looks up at all the gallery sitting around 18. He goes, "Are you with me?"
I remember it.
And they went crazy. Don't you know that sucker knocked it in for an eagle?
It only broke about 8 feet.
I know it. As I said, and he's been a big part of my life, I'll tell you. Because he's done some things that I just couldn't do.
Well, that was amazing. You know, I don't know what we're going to do. It's going to be so different not having you do some of these games. I mean, your phraseology is a big part of the sports vernacular here in Chicago, really, not only here, but around the country, too.
Well, the young man that's going to be sitting in this seat is going to be one hell of an announcer. He's good already, and he's going to get better and better and better.
No question about that.
Jason is and he's breaking in at the perfect time. Steve will help him along. He still has, you know, Jason has to smooth out a few things yet, and he will, and Steve will help him with that. But the thing is, he's breaking in like a commensurate with the club he's breaking into. That's what he is as an announcer. They're young, they're talented, they're going to get better and better and better. And as I was talking to Teddy Greenstein today, in my opinion, for the next decade, Chicago baseball fans are going to have the best time they've ever had, because it's going to be the first time in my time here, all these years I've been in Chicago, that 4 or 5 years from now, you're going to have a legitimate shot at having a crosstown World Series.
Yeah.
Because the Cubs are not going anywhere. They're good, and they're going to be around. Our guys are not going anywhere with this talent. We're good. We're going to be good, and we're not going to be going anywhere for a long time. So Jason's breaking in at a wonderful time, and that a lot of times that means a lot to a young man's career.
Oh, I think he's going to be more than happy to be sitting here for a long time.
Oh yeah, he'll be here for a long time.
These kids are going to be really good by the time it's all said and done.
Altuve, love to watch that little guy play.
Well, he plays as hard as anybody, and he almost beat that play by just sheer hustle, because it's a ground ball right at Tim.
He looks like a fast Mike LaValliere.
Well, yeah. Right.
Yeah, I don't see any resemblance there at all.
Those little legs going down the line. Mike was carrying a little more poundage.
I was going to say, that's the difference. Altuve's a normal-sized guy. LaValliere. You know, I'm playing that 56 game that Major League Baseball has. You have to pick a hitter to get a hit.
Beat the streak.
Beat the streak.
Yeah,
have Altuve
you
today.
Get 57.
I'm on 0 right now.
You might have some problems with Altuve today. I think your streak ends. What are you at 1?
Well, he walked and he.
No, I'm talking about what are you in the streak right now?
0.
It'll be at 1 if he gets a hit today.
Oh no chance.
Correa has a single.
Well, you've done that a while, I'm sure. What was the longest streak you ever had?
2.
You're kidding.
No, I haven't. I just started.
Oh.
But actually, I picked Altuve, and then I went to pick Correa behind him, and they locked me out. Said it was too late.
True.
So I must have missed by seconds. And then he got a hit first time on.
Tough rules.
I'll tell you one thing.
It's the story of my life.
There's always exceptions to the rule, but if I haven't played that game, but if I was, where I think a lot of people make a mistake, and Steve and I have talked about this over the years, is that everybody is always going right-handed hitter against left-handed pitcher, left-handed hitter against right-handed pitcher. Well, I want to tell you something. There are a lot of right-handed hitters that don't like to face left-handed pitching. So you're better off in a lot of cases taking a left-handed hitter against a left-handed pitcher.
Well, with the computers today, these guys, Hawk, have access to every matchup. And so you take a look at the pitcher on the mound, and then you take a look at the matchup with the hitter. Sometimes the hitter's hitting 450 against the guy. He sees him. He can see him from the hotel coming to the ballpark, and he's going to get a hit that day. And so, you know, these young kids that do this a lot, they look at every matchup. They have all the numbers, and then they make their picks.
That's hit softly into right field. It's going to fall for a base hit.
So why didn't you take Correa? Because he got 2 hits today.
I tried to take it.
No, I don't know about that.
That's Steve being the front runner as he is.
Oh, really? Gee. That is so surprising.
Yeah, I took Correa actually in my streak.
I'm sure you did.
It carries over from last year.
So here's Reddick. I know Joe Madden was one of the first guys to ever realize that he was better off stacking his lineup against Mark Burley with left-handed hitters. And it worked.
Well, the way some guys throw the ball, and Burley was one of them. I mean, he wasn't blowing it by anybody.
No.
Just had to be patient up there.
But
it didn't really work out all that well for him.
We'll have to play some golf this summer.
Hey,
we'll be up in town here.
Good, let's do it.
We'll go down to Lost Dunes. That's one of the greatest golf courses in the world.
It's so fun, isn't it?
Oh, it's one of the best in the world.
It really is good.
Yeah, I mean, people fly from all over the world if they can get on to play that place.
It's a blast. A couple of those greens look like they got a Chevy Malibu buried in them.
I'll tell you what, 16th hole there, that par 3. If you never played it, I can put you on that green. I can put you on that green 15 feet from the hole. And if you don't make it, it's going to be off the green.
That's the one over the pond?
Yeah. Par 3.
Yep.
The 0-1 pitch. Oh, 0-2 to Reddick. Reddick right outside of Savannah, Georgia.
Throw that fastball upstairs, and it's inning over and on to the next.
I was going to say, throw it upstairs under the hands and grab some bench.
There you go. Grab some bench.
That ball hit into left field. Can of corn. And that'll retire the side. We'll go to the bottom of the 3rd. And it is 1-0 Good Guys.
Zone for the latest stats and information. University of Illinois Health. From comprehensive stroke care to a world-class transplant team, UI Healthcare is changing medicine for good. Visit uihealth.care.
Here's Liuri hitting at .219, no homers. He's driven in 3. And Correa playing him perfectly. And I want to thank Silk, Dan Rowan, stopping by and saying hello. And Silk, of course, one of the most versatile announcers in many moons here in Chicago.
Been around a long time. There's not much that he can't do, and he does it well. And as you say, he does it very smoothly. And you know, I think a lot of people realize that Dan is one of the great sports anchors that we've had in this city these many years, but they don't understand how many things he can do with that microphone and how good he is and how versatile he is, and the other areas that he can venture into. So, I mean, he's been a good broadcaster for a long, long time.
Better believe it.
Yeah.
Better believe it. I've seen him do some pregame shows under certain circumstances that you'd have to be in the business to know about. That you had to see it to believe how good he did it.
Well, we've worked together, as he was the play-by-play man, I was the analyst, and we worked together. We did Kerry Wood's first game, as a matter of fact.
Really?
And I in Montreal, yeah.
Kerry, one of my all-time favorite pitchers.
We were reminiscing about that 20 strikeout game, and the 5th major league start, one little infield hit and 20 strikeouts against a team that was not similar to this, but just under it, the Killer Bees of the Houston Astros many years ago. With Biggio, Bagwell, Bell.
You know what I love the most about Kerry is he took care of his teammates. You drill one of his guys.
Oh, no, you didn't want to do that.
You didn't want to do that with Kerry.
Because he hit a bigger fastball than you had.
That's right.
And he would throw it right through you if he got the occasion.
Full count. We were talking about an inning ago about Blackjack McDowell and how you had to have, if you had to have good stuff and good control to win a game. I've seen Jack go out there with absolutely nothing. And there's ball 4. Oh boy.
3-2 hook, and the guys are starting to look at him instead of swinging at him because he's thrown it just about every time. And if you do that, not that difficult to pick up a pattern.
That's another area that Blackjack was pretty good at. You hit one of his guys, he might get 2 of yours. So here is Avi. Avi with an infield single.
There it is. That one's well out of the zone. I think McCullers is unhappy with himself because there's no doubt he's frustrated because he felt he had him and he's saying it's my fault. So his reaction was that he knew he could wipe him out with a curveball. He had 2 shots at it and couldn't get it over.
Well, maybe he should have thrown a few down in the bullpen. That is a rocket off the glove of Correa. That's another base hit. Far. Avi.
Carlos able to knock it down, but that's it. He can't control it. This ball is hit like a bullet, a 1-hop rocket. Hits the heel of the glove, bounds away, and it's a base hit. So chance to add a little to the lead.
Well, you know, it's very early, obviously, already, but it's hard to imagine a guy with Lance McCullers' stuff having over a 5 ERA.
Yeah, he's got exceptional stuff. And only thing is, he's never been able to start over 25 games. So he's just 24 years old. They're easing him in. And we'll see how he can handle it over a long season, because it's difficult. I mean, you're talking about 32 starts. You can't get hurt, and you got to take the ball when they give it to you, because these days that's about it. 32 might be tops. Occasionally you might squeeze out that 33rd start, but that's about it. Most guys are around 30 these days.
Abreu hit into a 6-4-3 double play his first trip to end the first inning. And there he just shoves that one into right field. So here comes the error. Here is the throw. And they get him. And Leary wants him to check it. He thinks he got his hand in there.
Well, if he did, it was the great slide that got him in. But running on Reddick is not something you want to do often, especially when he's got all the best of it. He wasn't playing overly deep. He charged the ball. And if Leary got the hand in before the tag, it will be because of this slide. We'll watch it again. Jose does it right, inside out swing, and Reddick is right there to make the play. So Nick Capper deciding to gamble on Reddick's arm. His arm is very good and accurate, but the question is Leary's slide. Did he get him in? The throw is up. Leary with the right hand, looks like he's around the tag. From that angle, hard to tell, but we'll have to see, and they're going to take a look at it in New York.
Well, from where we were sitting right here, it looked very, very close from where we were sitting when it happened, but it still looked like that he got his hand in.
Well, a cloud of dust and a hi-ho silver, and we'll have to see. Manny Gonzalez said he is out from this angle. Watch it again. Tough to tell now. They have to have definitive proof to overturn the call. The call on the field is he's out. That's Moncada, rather. It was a great slide. It was really
Moncada.
it was really the only thing that he had to do because the ball beat him.
I'll tell you though one thing, even with just being one out, I'm going to let Moncada or Leary run against almost anybody. That speed, because they're going to have to make almost a perfect throw, which Reddick did.
It's the right hand because he tags what appears to be the left hand. And Yuan rolling through.
I think that was a very good call.
Well, I think everybody, that's one of those things where everybody did their job. Jose got the base hit. Reddick charged it, made a good throw. The good tag at the plate. The great slide by Moncada, and he is indeed out. So that's it. And now we don't know at this point whether it is lack of definitive proof to overturn or if the call was just upheld. But in any event, the same result, he is out at the plate.
Well, I certainly disagree with that from being live. It was close. There's no question about that.
Was that?
So here's Nicky. That ball hit into right field off the end of the bat. So I think we got robbed of a run right there. Meanwhile, it's still 1-0 Sox.
Looks like
Mitch Rosen to me.
Honoring Shed Aquarium. So what a day here at the ballpark, and you can't have too many Penguins, especially if you're from Pittsburgh.
So here is Bregman. He walked back in the first inning. Just joining us, Ronaldo walked 2 in this game, both coming in the first inning, Altuve and Bregman. One and one to count. Just a solid major league lineup. There's a good pitch and didn't get it. Come back and get him. No walks. It's full.
Leadoff walks cost you some problems, but at least you're by the top 4 in the batting order. Bregman, Gonzalez, and Gaddis this inning.
And there's a base hit.
Bregman, #1 draft pick out of LSU, second player picked in the draft, a good solid third baseman who has sparkled defensively in this series. This year Ronaldo's average fastball is 95.4. That's tied for 9th among all the major league starting pitchers. League average just 92.3, so it shows you that he's got a very lively and very quick fastball.
Well, Astros have walked 90 times this year. We've walked 60. 30 is a big disparity, so early in the season.
This Astro team will grind out at bats with the best of them. I mean, there's a whole lot of guys not going to swing at pitches out of the zone, and we've seen it in this series. You see the shift on with Tim on the first base side of second, 3 infielders on the right side, and only Yolmer left alone on the left side.
This guy here is hitting 200 coming in, and he is a good hitter. He's a very solid hitter.
Like to pass along best wishes to the boys looking out at Crystal Tree. Eddie Barkowski, Roland Nacera, Werner Kuz, and of course the big fish in the group, Mike Basovic.
You didn't have to throw that in there.
Oh, well, I mean, they only play with him because he's their annuity.
He's their pigeon.
He's one of those, yeah.
There's a strike. Well, there's a guy on Bay Hill a lot of Chicagoans know of. His name is Dick Ferris. He was Arnold's best friend, a good friend of mine. And he's the only guy that I can honestly say has turned the hawk into a pigeon.
Well, it all comes back to roost, doesn't it?
I can't beat him. He just kills me. High, foul, souvenir.
Marwin Gonzalez can do just about everything on the baseball field. That's one of the reasons why A.J. Hinch feels so good about having him around. We see him everywhere, just about every time we play these teams. And he's a much better hitter, left-handed, much more power. But being a switch hitter, he gives you that kind of versatility, hitting it even 200 from both sides. But his only home run and 8 of his 9 runs batted in have come from the left side. He is a dead pull hitter left-handed, and with the wind howling toward the right field corner, you just as soon not see him pull it in this at bat.
Bregman, pretty good lead. Boy. That's where those good leads will get you. They have to get the man at first.
You saw the Astros pretty much tear it down and rebuild and turned it into a World Series winner. You saw Kansas City tear it down under Dayton Moore, rebuild and turn it into a World Series winner. When you look at the Sox tear down and rebuild, looking ahead into the future, Hawk, when do you think this team starts to come together? And I'm not going to say win a World Series. When are they going to be a factor for postseason play?
I said it at Sox Fest this year. In my opinion, a lot of people, you know, the expectations were so high, which is understandable with all the great deals that Kenny and Rick made. Okay, it's understandable. But I told in a couple of seminars there at Sox Fest, I said, in my opinion, it's going to take until at least 2020. 2020, this is going to be a good ball club. And starting at 2020, it's got a chance to be a monster. But the one thing that you take Kansas City, Dayton Moore and the gang over there, and if you look where they started their rebuilding, for the most part, was in the bullpen.
They did that, and they did the corners. I mean, back-to-back
well, they had those guys in
draft
drafts,
picks.
right?
Yep.
But I'm talking about they went out and they got themselves, at that time, what turned out to be, for about 4 years, the best bullpen in Major League Baseball.
Well, Ned Yost had a tremendous advantage because the other manager was managing 9 innings and Ned was managing 6. And if he could get through 6, then the last 3 were taken care of. The bullpen shut down everybody. And
that's right.
It sounds like an easy formula, but baseball the way it is today, if you can manage 18 outs from your starter or a starter and another pitcher and have the lead and then use that push button bullpen for the last 3, you're in pretty good shape. And Ned was able to do that for 2 years.
I'll tell you where I think we should sit in that scenario, as far, because our bullpen right now is not what you call strong. And where I'm excited about it is that with all the good young talent we have here, I'm not talking about performance now, I'm talking about talent at the major league level, and then the tremendous amount of talent we have at the minor league level. There are a lot of pieces down there that a lot of clubs would love to have, that Kenny and Rick can go out and trade some of those guys and get some real good bullpen help. So it's there. It's there. And that's one thing Kenny always, when he was at the end, here you go. 2 down. Kenny was always really good at building a bullpen.
Well, I think that's the one thing you have to do. And the teams that can scout their own, scout your own system, so you have an advantage when you make a deal. Because if you can't scout your own system, you know that the other teams can, then you have some problems. And you got to determine, because there's a wealth of talent down there, you have to determine who should be in the rearview mirror and who's going to walk with you into the future. And that's the determination of the scouts and the entire front office under Kenny and Rick and everybody who evaluates the talent here. They brought in a great deal of talent.
Unbelievable.
Now you sort through it.
Unbelievable.
And you say to yourself, okay, what do I know about this guy that nobody else knows, or people suspect but don't really know? This is a guy that you use to make a trade to bring you a piece of the puzzle. You get a few of those pieces, and all of a sudden you got yourself quite a ball club.
Well, that's one reason Atlanta won 14 consecutive divisional titles. They knew exactly what they had in their farm system.
Only one mistake.
Yeah.
That is, they didn't understand how valuable that closer at the end was. The only World Series they won was when Mark Wohlers, shut down everybody. And other than that, with the best talent around, the best starting rotation, and a defense that was second to almost none, they only won 1 World Championship despite being in it each and every year.
Well, you win 14 consecutive divisional titles.
Yeah.
Do the math.
Yeah, they were otherworldly.
That was possibly the greatest tandem as far as manager, general manager in the history of the game, and Bobby Cox and John Schuerholz. That's one thing will never be touched again.
No, not even close. I don't think anybody's going to be even close to that.
There's a strike.
It is very difficult to square up the ball on Ronaldo Lopez because he's a short armer. meaning he's not showing the baseball to you, and he's got some deception to go with 96, 97. And when you have that, and when you have a little late movement and his ball darts, it doesn't just stay flat. That makes it tough to square up. You get a lot of pop-ups, a lot of ground balls.
Well, what impresses me, obviously, the first thing, you know, it's not unlike, well, I won't go there. But the first thing that impressed me about him certainly is his arm.
By the way,
the next thing is his mound presence. He has a tremendous, for a youngster, a tremendous amount of mound presence.
Well, he figured if he got the pitch before on the straight change, he would go back to the straight change. And that's one of the things where the combination of Castillo and Lopez were not pitching that hitter like you were looking to the on-deck circle to look at Derek Fisher. Because Stassi, although he's hitting pretty well at this point, and Fisher is not. If you look at batting averages, I think Fisher might give you a little harder at bat than Stassi, and we'll have to see how this one plays out. Fisher's going to be a good player.
Well, first of all, Gonzalez has not given Ronaldo a pitch.
No.
This afternoon so far. And it looks like he has taken several away from him.
Fisher off to a slow start, but this is a guy that can swing the bat. You're going to hear a lot more from him as this year moves along. And I think his career has got a lot of upside.
Two out, two on. Big pitch, the 1-1.
Then when he bought a close strike in the last couple of years at Fresno, Derek Fisher hit .290 and .318. So he can swing the bat. He had 21 home runs in 109 games at Fresno last year.
Two on, two out, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Nice crowd on hand on a beautiful day in the city. Beautiful. Both runners will advance.
That one got away, and now we have to wait for the scoring. It is a wild pitch. Wellington tried to backhand it. That one got by, but that was well in front of the plate. That was a tough pitch to handle.
Payoff. Springer on deck. He gone. Yes. Yes. And that'll retire the side. We go to the bottom of the 4th. 1-0 Sox.
Look at one of the highlights of last night. Sean Manaea against a red-hot Red Sox team, and he cools them down. It's a no-hitter. Wins 3-0. I think that was head-to-head with Chris Sale. But Manaea was brilliant, and again, the Red Sox came into that one at 17-2, and they just doused the fire under a good young left-hander. And the 12th no-hitter in Athletic franchise history, and 7th no-hitter in Oakland. It was against Chris Sale, and apparently that competition brought the best out in Manaea. Toyota going places. Let's go places.
So here's Wellington. Fouled out to Bregman. Watch out. He didn't want to do that.
Wants it low and away and gets it in the ribs. Well, I should get the pick to click just because of this. That's a painful at bat. What do you think? Probably not, huh?
Your what hurts?
Well, my ribs hurt actually looking at that.
So here's Matt. He doubled and scored for the only run so far, if you're just tuning in this ball game. Flips that breaking ball over for a strike. Blueprint, and the count 0-2.
There you see the defense. Thinking that Matt is going to pull it.
Took that pitch nicely.
Well, considering he doubled down the right field line, there's nobody home on the right side, so you can drive a battalion through there. Only Laz Diaz is in the way, and he's not going to make the play. Nobody shifts more drastically than Houston.
Just did get a piece of it. Uh-oh. Nice pick by Marwin Gonzalez at first. So 2 down. So here's Yolmer, 1 for 1 with that RBI.
Time now for a forward drive of the game, and Yolmer comes up in the second, and that is the sum total of the scoring as he takes it through the right side. It remains a 1-0 game.
He's 2 for 2. And here's Anderson. Tim grounded out to his counterpart. Breaking ball high and in.
Probably no other pitcher has recorded a higher percentage of strikeouts with his curveball as Lance McCullers.
There is a little soft Kansas City special into center field.
Trip to the mound. Max Stassi goes out to have a word with him. And we talked about the frequency of the curveball. For Lance McCullers, 82.5% of his strikeouts come with the curveball. So he likes it, he throws it well, and he throws it often.
Well, you know, again, we talk about analytics, sabermetrics, all the numbers games. See, those are pertinent to me. There's a place for all that stuff in baseball if it's used, but what gets me is when you start inundating these young players, especially young Latin players, with all these analytics and numbers and everything else. They aren't used to that. They're used to going out and playing ball, see ball, hit ball, and having fun. You don't want to take away a player's childlike qualities. And the more you talk to them about mechanics, numbers, the more you're taking away their childlike qualities. I would love to have known. I wouldn't have, if I was facing you, I wouldn't have to go. I knew what you were going to do.
But I threw that a lot. But if you haven't seen McCullers very often and realize that he's going to wipe you out with a curveball, it's not that you sit and look curveball and take fastballs. It's just that you know that that's pretty much what he does. And
yeah, but you did one thing that he doesn't do. You've changed on your curveball.
Well, he doesn't throw it as much as I did because he's got a big fastball, moving fastball at this point. But yeah, you're right. I had to change.
His fastball is at least 6 inches quicker than yours.
Well, there's no doubt. Maybe 8 or 10.
Hitters, we've talked about that. So hitters just hate to face a guy who's got good breaking stuff, who changes speeds. That is absolutely just. Well, it'll ruin your sleep. That's what it does.
Well, that goes hand in hand with maturity, though. You've got to be around a while to be able to do that because it's a case of finesse. You can't go out there and throw your best curveball every time because you have a tendency to roll every now and then. And when you roll one, guys hit it hard if it's the same speed. But you can get away with a bad curveball if it's 10 miles an hour slower than your best curveball.
I'll tell you one thing, the guys are getting away with more now than they did in our time zone. Pitchers are getting away with more hangers today than they did back in those days because guys won't swing on them. They want you to swing at strikes.
I think that that's going to change because this year we've seen a drastic change in high strikes called. And if high strikes are called, then those hangers are going to get pasted because guys are going to be looking up there being aware of the high part of the strike zone. This year the umpires around baseball are making a conscious effort to maybe move the strike zone up just a touch and make sure they're calling the high strikes. And we've seen it throughout baseball. It's not just a trend. I think it's going to be the way we go forward, and the hitters are going to have to know they're going to have to protect upstairs.
Boy, the last 10 or 15 years, it's been amazing. As he beats him to the bag, and that'll retire the side. We get a couple of hits, strand a pair. We're going to the 5th, leading 1-0.
Farm Report. The game was tied in the bottom of the 9th inning. Right fielder Alex Call laid down a bunt single to score. Taekwon Forbes with the winning run. Call was 2 for 5 last night. Now has 5 runs batted in this season for the dash. And a very happy bunch of dashes. The Dots were happy also. And that's our GMC Sox Farm Report. In the meantime, it's still a 1-0 game. And Ronaldo Lopez is throwing it very well. He's got his work cut out for him. And you're going to the top of a very potent order. 3 singles so far through 4 innings. Ronaldo has been in charge.
Springer is grounded to second, and he is going out to Avi in right field. Takes a breaking ball strike. That ball hit well into right center field, and nobody's going to make that catch. So Springer starts it off with a double.
Third time through for young pitchers is usually a problem, and starting at the top is always problematic against these Astros. So Springer gets his first hit of the day, the first extra base hit. It's the second changeup in this abbreviated count, and the second one. Springer takes one hop against the wall. Very nice play on the carom. Leary gets it back in. He's got a very strong arm.
So that's his 8th two-bagger. And here's Altuve. He's got a job to do. He has walked and he has grounded to short. Right now he's going to try to get Springer over to third. Guy's got one of the best moves at the plate of anybody in the game. Jose Altuve. It's amazing to me why guys, a lot of guys, especially if they're struggling, don't try it. There's a strike.
What move are you talking about?
The scissors.
Explain it.
What did Hank Aaron do with his back foot when he swung?
Well, that was.
He was the poster child.
Historically, he was the poster child for that.
Yeah. Altuve does it. And what that does, that means when you start to swing, most sides, the left side will take the right side out towards home plate. His foot goes back towards the third base dugout. And what that does, it makes you keep your head on the ball longer and you see it longer. So Springer into third.
Let's take a look at the velocity on Ronaldo Lopez over the last 3 seasons. Take a look at what it was in 2016. It's gone down a touch this year. But the changeup has had more disparity. It's right around 11.5 miles an hour difference. That's exactly where you want it. Although it wasn't bad in 2016. The slider, a lot harder these days. He's tightened it up. He's gotten a little more across movement as opposed to straight down movement. And the curveball, of course, very similar, just about 3.5 miles an hour difference between 216 and 218. That was one that Correa wanted back. He's 2 for 2 and fouled it back with the infield in at all 4 positions. Ronaldo would love to throw a ground ball. Correa thinking about, at the very least, a fly ball and tying up the ball game. He's got 18 driven in this year.
Well, there's a pretty good chance he's going to get the job done, unless he makes a good pitch on it. Boy, sometimes you go to the plate, you got a man on third, 1 out, infield in. and you just chomping at the bit, licking your lips. Meanwhile, the guy makes 2 good pitches on you, grab some bench. Outfield around to the right. Tried to stay inside it, which is the correct thing to do, unless you're a dead pull hitter, which he's not.
Let's see if Wellington tries to get that ground ball on a breaking pitch, preferably a slider away, but he's going with a fastball.
Not getting rushed. I'd really see the fastball right underneath his hands.
That's the only problem with a high fastball.
That's just a good at bat right there. And it's a 1-1 tie. He's got 19 RBIs now.
Ronaldo got ahead, and that fastball was elevated, maybe a little bit lower than he would have wanted it. And credit Correa. That's just a good at bat. He was able to get the job done. He's thinking fly ball from Jump Street in that at bat. And with the infield in, the high fastball usually winds up in the outfield.
Well, you could tell on the previous swing when he stayed inside and fouled it off the right side, you could tell what he was trying to do. And if you're going to throw it in a fastball, you got to get it right underneath the hands. You get it above that, then you ergo sacrifice fly. So a good at bat by Correa. He's got 19 RBIs. Davidson leading our club with 11. But they have Springer with 16, Altuve with 9, Reddick with 15. Gonzalez, even though he's hitting only 200, with 9.
A little thunder in this lineup, and they haven't really started to hit like they can yet.
No, but the thing is, they're just solid. From a pitching standpoint, there's just, there's just no let-ups, so to speak, no out guys.
Well, they've got 7 starters. I mean, if they wanted to use them, they have 7 guys in that rotation that can give you quality major league starts. The top 5, and Peacock and McHugh are the other 2. So somebody goes down, or they want to do something, make a deal, although I don't know where they're going to really add too much to the strength of that team. They've got the starters to do it.
So that's the 4th walk.
So 100 coming up, and that is a meeting at the mound. A lot of pitches in the early going. Problems in the first inning. Ronaldo loaded the bases but got out of it. Very easy 1-2-3 second. The base hit in the 3rd. Couple on in the 4th inning. Ronaldo got out of it, but this inning, the leadoff double and the sacrifice fly have tied this game at 1.
Well, guys who don't pitch to contact are going to throw a lot of pitches.
Yeah, well, you're going to get many strikeouts and
a lot of foul balls.
In the case of Ronaldo, too many walks in the early going, but he'll work that out.
Line shot. That's a hang woof 'em for Bregman. Meanwhile, they get a run. We're halfway home, tied at 1.
And today we take a look at the Negro brothers, Phil and Joe. Phil in the Hall of Fame with an ERA of .335 and a great knuckleball. Joe's knuckleball was a lot harder, still won 221 games. That's quite a duo for brothers. You're looking at over 500 wins. Shop in line or online or in store at mybobs.com. Dare to compare.
Boy, there was a classic example of a guy who one pitch turned his career around. I faced Phil when he was a kid with Milwaukee. Before he got to knuckleball, he was a sinker, slider, curve pitcher. He was meat.
Well, he wasn't meat afterward.
Once he got to knuckleball, he ditched the curve and the slider, and he was a Hall of Famer.
I faced him the first time. It was embarrassing because I kept trying to hit the baseball and it just didn't work. I mean, it's literally like trying to catch a butterfly with a bat. And then I decided I was going to come up and swing in the same spot 3 straight times. So the first 2, I swung knee high in middle of the plate. The ball stayed up high, and it looked ridiculous. It looked like I was up there wearing blinders. The third time I saw the ball up high, it literally dove into my bat, and I got a base hit. It's one of the few hits I got.
Well, you know, you can go to hell for stealing like you can for lying.
No, that's a true story. I would never exaggerate my hitting prowess because I hit 100. You know, I got to triple digits. It wasn't like I couldn't hit.
I'll tell you who was a nightmare to hit against. Wearing that White Sox uniform.
Wilbur? Oh, Lamar Hoyt? Hoyt Wilhelm.
Hoyt Wilhelm.
Oh, geez, no.
He was a nightmare.
Well, he was probably consistently the best ever with the knuckleball.
Sure he was.
I can't imagine anybody better than him.
Mancada, he gone. 1 out.
Take another look. It's a fastball, and it threads the inside part of the plate.
Our older White Sox fans will remember Hoyt. I'll tell you what, I faced him. He had a 2-strike knuckleball. When he got 2 strikes on you, that literally he could start it off at eye high, and that ball would go down below your knees. The only way who ever scored a run off him was wild pitches, pass balls.
Yeah, but how about what he did with his neck, which is most unusual than any pitcher that
Tilt.
ever pitched. Well, he would snap his neck at you before the ball came.
That was Stu Miller too.
And Stu Miller did the same thing.
Oh, a nice pick by Bregman. So Avi, he's now 2 for 3. That ball was scalded.
Bregman's had a good series defensively. You don't have to be fast. You don't have to be fast to play third base, but you have to be quick. You have to have good first step quickness. He stays down with the ball, comes up with the hop, and the backhand was the way it should be. And Hawk, you played a lot of first base. You had a lot of rockets hit to you. What's the advantage of getting below the ball?
You've got to get your butt down. You've got to get your behind down. Especially in today's game in baseball, you cannot be a stand-up major league infielder. You have got to get your behind down. You've got to get in position. Before you can play the position well, you've got to get in position to play the ball. You got to lower your eyesight down as low as you can, and the only way you can't do it bending at the waist. We got a couple guys that bend at the waist, and that's one reason they have problems with ground balls, because if it takes any kind of bad hop ball, you're dead. You got to get your eyesight down as low as you can, and the only way you can do that is by bending your knees and getting your behind down. Abreu, 1 for 2. But you framed that perfectly with Bregman. I mean, he stays down. You've never seen a stand-up third baseman who was good in major leagues, or a first baseman.
Well, especially with, as they call it, the exit velocity today. With the exit velocity, they're hitting the ball harder than ever, and it's getting on infielders more quickly than ever.
No question.
And plus the spin. You know, you hit a ball harder, and the ball is tighter. Maybe you catch a seam when you hit it, and all of a sudden that ball digs into the dirt and takes a waist-high bounce. When you got to stay down, waist-high bounce, you can't catch it.
That ball gets, especially at the corners. And then the funny thing about it is that when you start learning how to get your butt down, so your eye level comes down, it really becomes a ton of fun. And you just out there, you hope guys are hitting rockets at you because there's no problem, no big deal. Softly hit. Right over the top of Correa. Boy, he's a good-looking shortstop. Wow.
He is that.
After 5, tied at 1.
He will leave in a tie ball game as Herm Schneider talking it over with him. He only fanned 2, which for him is a low total. He walked 4. He gave up 4 hits, but just 1 earned run, and they pay off on that run column. The leadoff double last inning by Springer came home to score in a sacrifice fly, and now Gregory Infante comes in the ball game. There you see it, the 8th time. The ERA is coming down. Opponent's batting average is .400, and we'll see if he can handle a very good Houston lineup.
I'll tell you, that Ronaldo Lopez, he reminds me, he's the best looking young right-hander we've had since Alex Fernandez. I'm talking about his ball movement, velocity, and his curveball right now is not quite as good as Alex's was.
No, and I think that will come along, and
exactly.
Whether it's a curve or a slider or maybe a hybrid in between. Right now he's fastball changeup. That's the 1 and 2 pitches, and when that 3rd comes along, he's going to be even tougher. And right now he's difficult to square up.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we've had a young right-hander that with that kind of potential.
Well, when they evaluate trades that the White Sox have made, they'll look back to the Adam Eaton deal. Mike Rizzo made the trade for the Washington Nationals because they felt they had to win now. And Eaton's a terrific player. I mean, he's a good player when healthy, and he's had a hard time staying healthy. But the 3 guys that we got in return, that'll turn out to be one of the really great trades made by Kenny, Rick, and the staff.
No question about it.
Because Dane Dunning is tearing it up in the minor leagues. He's got great control, maybe the best in the organization. The arm of Lopez, without question. Giolito, that was an aberration last night, and I think he would be the first to tell you that he just didn't have any feel for anything. And, you know, watching his body of work from last year in spring training, you'd have to think he's coming along. But you could very well have 60% of a starting rotation in one trade, and you're never going to see that.
No, that was a good one. So here's Evan Gattis. He's gone out to right, struck out. Very strong right-handed hitter. Alex Fernandez. Boy, I'll tell you what, if it was 50 degrees and below, you could just send it to Cooperstown. He was going to win. He was the best Latin cold weather pitcher I ever saw.
Parents, register your little one for the White Sox Kids Club during your next trip to Guaranteed Rate Field. Membership is completely free and available to kids 13 and under. Stop by the Xfinity Kids Zone located in left field to secure a custom Kids Club ID badge. And those are the folks that will really enjoy that.
He gone. Frozen. 2 down.
This is exactly like the 4th inning when Gattis looked at one. This is right down the middle. That's a no-doubter. He just knows he was outguessed, and his knees buckle, and the bat lives to fight another day.
Ate him up inside. It's going to be a nice inning for Infante. 1, 2, 3 quickly. And we go to the bottom of the 6th, still tied at 1. So here's Nicky. Castillo on deck, Davidson on the hole. Delmonico twice has gone out to right field. Run on 4 hits, no errors for them. We'll run on 7 hits, no errors for us. Big shift. Cues it right off the end of the bat.
You can get in shape, take a yoga class, and then watch the White Sox at Guaranteed Rate Field. You can check out WhiteSox.com for information on future sessions led by Core Power Yoga. Some of my favorite things. Downward Dog, you can't beat it, especially on Dollar Hot Dog Day on Wednesday. And Dog Day coming up. No yoga
That's
for
not
you?
in my pay grade right there.
No yoga for you?
No.
You get down, you wouldn't get up.
That's exactly right. Well, I'll tell you what, it's with this bad knee I got. It takes me 3 or 4 minutes just to put my socks on.
Well, you should join the Ed Farmer Club. I've never seen him wear socks.
Oh, when I was a player, I never wore them. That's foul. Yeah, all those years I played, I never wore socks. Two and two the count. If you're just tuning in, Lopez once again. Well, this is his 4th start, and we have scored in those 3.5 starts for him, 4 runs. 2 and 1, none in another one, 1 and 1.
Yeah, not an embarrassment of riches as far as Ronaldo is concerned, yet he's thrown very well just about each and every time out.
Well, he's a keeper.
He is that.
One out.
Sox fans, entertain your group of MVPs in a suite this season. White Sox suites offer the best experience and value, and single game suites start as low as $2,000. The food is outstanding. Folks will really take care of you up there, and just great sight lines. Good place to spend an afternoon or an evening, and come out and see the ballpark.
Wellington, 0 for 1. He's fouled out to third, and he was hit by a pitch. Hit good. Wasn't just a nick.
Oh, he got him in the ribs nicely.
Yeah.
Harold Baines, number 3. That man could hit.
He's one of the best 7th, 8th, and 9th inning hitters the White Sox have ever had.
I think he's talking more now than ever, but
no, he's not.
Never gonna be a loquacious fellow.
Harold's a pretty good player. You ever play golf with him?
Yeah, I know. He swings it real well.
Got a beautiful swing.
Yeah. For a guy who doesn't have great knees, he swings it well.
Yeah. He and King Griffey Jr. got the same kind of swing. Very fluid, rhythmic, just like when they hit.
Why is it that the left-handers look so pretty when they swing?
Isn't that amazing? Hitting too, hitters.
You, me, any right-hand hitter. I mean, you were obviously very effective, but I'm just talking about just the beauty of the swing. The left-handers
got us killed.
Yeah.
Got us beat to death. You never hear of a right-handed hitter being a beautiful hitter. Very seldom. I can name you Al Kaline, Paul Canerico, guys like that who had beautiful swings. You know, there are a ton of left-handed hitters who look great.
Yeah, sweet swing and Billy Williams. Parlayed that to the Hall of Fame.
Ken Griffey Jr., Harold, you know.
Rondon loosening up with Aaron Bummer.
Rafael Palmeiro.
Yeah, great swings.
And pitchers, stylish, Billy Pierce, stylish left-handers. Get by it, Will. That ball was hit hard by Castillo. Little payback for getting drilled last time up.
With 3 guys on the left side, it's tough to get the ball through. That in itself should be quality pick-to-click move. Right by it, diving Altuve, could not come up with it. And he's aboard, representing the go-ahead run.
Just got a note here from Olson, our West Coast correspondent, that Chris Bryant was hitting the head by a pitch.
That's not good. That's one of the most talented young men in the game of baseball. And you know, you've said it for years, and it holds true and will always hold true. This game is built on what? What do you think the game's built on?
Great players, rivalries, and tradition. Those 3 elements.
And he's one of the great players, and you don't want to see those guys get hurt. You don't want to see him spend any time away from the game. The fans pay to see the great players play, and when they come to the ballpark, they might only come 1 time a month, maybe 1 time every 2 months. They want to see the great players in the lineup, and Chris Bryant is one of those guys.
Well, baseball, to me, you know, overall, has really done a terrific job in most areas. I mean, in certain areas, they've been very, very lax and remiss in protecting rivalries. We went 2 years in a row playing the Cubs, a Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and Thursday night in succession. As he's gone, 2 down, and that is absolutely ridiculous.
Well, there's no doubt that you want to see the rivalry teams playing one another as often as possible, and you want to see them in their premier dates if you can.
No question.
You'd like to see them preferably in the middle of the season. You would like to see them also. You would like to see the rivalry teams in the divisions playing one another, and Hawkeye got a way to do it. How about that?
That doesn't surprise me.
I got a way to do it, and it's expand by 2 more teams, have 16-team leagues, 4 4-team divisions. And now Yomer gets hit. Yomer, after a double that produced a run and a base hit, gets one high in the back.
And he's a little upset, and I don't blame him.
Watch it again. You get hit up here. You get hit above the belt, and that is going to leave a mark.
Well, I'll tell you what. He got Castillo good. He got, you know, now I think Castillo's was not intentional. I think that one was intentional. I don't think there's any question. Even though it puts a man in the scoring position, he's got 2 outs.
Well, he also has the righty-righty matchup.
I know if it's for me, one of the Astros got to get drilled.
And now the umpires are they're going to talk about it. And I think they're debating if a warning should be issued, because they want to make sure this one doesn't get out of hand right here and now. So let's see.
I know one thing. I play with a lot of guys. When they went out on that mound, some Astro player walked to the plate. He's going to get drilled. And we got one sitting right there about 50 or 60 feet away, Ed Farmer.
Yeah, Eddie throw at you. He didn't mind that at all.
Well, Eddie didn't want to hit you. He wanted to knock you out.
Well, ask Al Cowens. There's Eddie Boy, manning the job on the radio side as he has for so many years, along with Darren Jackson. They provide all the analysis, all of the play-by-play on WGN Radio.
Eddie's one of the toughest pitchers I ever played with. He was with us. He was with us at Cleveland when he was 18 and 19. He was mean then.
Came out of St. Rita.
Three and 0 the count. With 2 on, 2 out.
Will Harris feeling pretty good about the amount of throws he's had. He's ready to go if need be, so he's not gonna rush into too much at this point. Veteran relievers, and Harris is one of those, know exactly how many pitches it takes, how many pitches they can get from the time the manager, the pitching coach, walks to the mound.
Softly hit. Yolmer going in hard as he should at second base. Meanwhile, we're still tied at 1.
Now, it is a force out, but Yolmer flashes right by Altuve, maybe thinking about getting hit with the pitch before, but no harm, no foul. Altuve just looks at him, able to get out of his way, and Yolmer slides on by. Visit your local Volkswagen dealer or VWdealer.com. Aaron Bummer comes in the ball game on for the 11th time, so he's been a busy man. Look at the rest of the numbers. Looks like Jake Marisnick. Jake Marisnick pinch hitting for Derek Fisher.
Game tied at 1. We scored 1 in the second. They scored 1 in the 5th. Sometimes, you know, we play these guys again down at their place. Sometimes, you know, when you're scuffling like we are, lost 6 in a row, you just certainly don't want to drill the leadoff hitter.
No. You're trying to win a ball game.
That's exactly right.
And that's the main thing, you know. You can take your time doing everything else in this game, but when you have a chance to win a ball game, and this is the first game the Sox have been in this series, it's 1-1, getting to the final 9 outs on both sides of the equation. You want to make sure that you don't put anybody on representing the go-ahead and potentially the winning run.
Well, I hate the term file it, we'll file it, but sometimes that carries a lot of weight. Especially when you got another series against them. No. Boy, you're talking about a Kansas City special. There it is.
Friday, May 4th, come and see the White Sox take on the Minnesota Twins at 7:10. All fans are invited to stay for a spectacular post-game fireworks show presented by the Magellan Corporation. Purchase tickets today by visiting whitesox.com or calling 866-SOX-GAME. And the fireworks last Friday night, they were special. It was an outstanding display. So Aaron Bummer will depart. We will step out and be back to welcome Bruce Rondon. Run at first base, nobody out, on for the 5th time. He's been doing a great job since putting on that White Sox uniform. The hard-throwing right-hander seems to have found the control that had eluded him with the Tigers.
There's a little scissor action right there from Springer. Risnick with a good lead.
It almost took off a kneecap. And Bruce looked in at George Springer.
One and one to count.
The only problem with that is you put the go-ahead run at second base, but I think maybe a message might have been sent the pitch before, and certainly that one, because after he threw the fastball that moved inside and down, he stared at Springer. And this one, well, this got away. And unfortunately, it got away from Wellington. So Risnick with pretty good speed out at second base.
And the count 2-1. Outfield, for the most part, straight up. Bit of a gap out there in right center. That'll be a pass ball.
Now the infield forced in. Nobody out. And Springer well ahead of Rondon.
He's got the catbird seat. Strike.
Take another look. Throws him a slider.
That's
a 3-1 slider on the outside corner.
That's the last thing in the world Springer was looking for. Oh, he got a cookie there and missed it.
Well, fortunately, a whole lot off the slider as compared to the last one, and that really, it wasn't location. It was velocity that forced this foul ball, because this is a hanger. If it was the same speed as the last one, that one goes a long way.
So there is ball 4. Runners at the corners, nobody out, and here comes Altuve. A walk, and twice he is grounded out to short.
Outfield straightaway. Runners at the corners, and Narian out.
You know, going forward, this guy on the mound right now could be a big diamond in the rough.
Well, if Don Cooper can work his reclamation project along with Kurt Hassler, then
Exactly.
they've got something, because the stuff has always been there. The liveliness of the fastball, the slider. If he keeps it in the zone, he could be a big addition to the pen.
2-0. Yep.
That's the one thing with the Tigers. I mean, we used to see him as the opposition saying, boy, glad this guy can't get the ball over the plate, because if he did, that would be it. And if in fact that's the case, then they have a prize. Don Cooper's done it before. You'd have to figure he can do it again. It'll be up to Bruce and see if he can adjust to whatever it is that Don Cooper will have picked up in his delivery as far as smoothing things out.
Sometimes it boils down to semantics. I'm sure whoever was pitching coach at the time in Detroit, I'm sure Coop's going to tell him a couple of maybe exactly the same things that the guy, he might say it in a different fashion, different way, phrase it different, frame it different.
Message is the same, the messenger different.
So, you know. Well, there it was right there for him. I'm surprised he wasn't swinging right there. I don't care if it's a tie ball game, basically men on first and third, nobody out. You got the MVP up there.
And a good one. Yeah, you don't overpower too often.
Springer, good lead. And there's base hit. And it's 2-1 Houston. It's Springer on his way to third, and Leary gets back into second. So it's a 2-1 Houston lead.
Got some guys in this lineup that make contact. Altuve, only 13 strikeouts in now 89 at bats. So he's going to put the bat on the ball. Bregman, another one of those guys. 12 strikeouts, 12 walks coming into today. But these guys make contact. You make contact, good things happen. A good at bat for Altuve, who drives in his 10th run, his first of the day. The Astros have the lead, but looking up and down this lineup, get guys who walk a lot. Get Reddick. Reddick coming in, 14 strikeouts, 11 walks. Anytime you get close, walks to strikeouts, you're a pretty valuable player, and these guys are just that.
How about for a guy who hit more home runs than he struck out?
Well, you're never going to see that again, I don't think. You were talking about Joe D from the Yankees?
Joe D.
I'm surprised Ted never did something close to that.
Well, Ted didn't strike out that much, but we talked about that several times, as a matter of fact. He was talking about constructive, inside the content of the conversation was constructive at-bats, constructive 0 for 4s. And something is never talked about today, but was talked about back in that time frame and when I first got to the big leagues. And the count 2-0, and that is setting a guy up. And especially if the score was 9-1, 8-2, something like that.
Only one guy in this league that I think can do that right today. That's the guy in Detroit. Big man in
He's
Detroit.
the smartest hitter in the game.
Miguel Cabrera can set up pitchers for the next at bat.
And the next best prior to that was Manny Ramirez. Pujols is another guy. Well, as we talked about it, the best 4 right-handed hitters to come into this league in the last 50 years, and not in order, has been Cabrera, Pujols, Manny Ramirez, and Frank Thomas.
Ted Williams, in his first year, fanned 64 times. That's the most he ever had. And this one is amazing for Joe DiMaggio. This is over a career. 361 home runs, 369 strikeouts.
Yeah.
For a career.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, Tulworth, a hitting coach when I was with the Red Sox, Bobby Dorr, who was a Hall of Fame second baseman, played with Ted. And I asked him one day, I said, Bobby, who was the best player, Joe D or Ted? He said, well, there's no question about who the best player was. He said, it's Joe D. And I said, who was the best hitter? And he sticks his hand out and he starts wavering it like this. Like they were close.
Yeah.
A good buddy of mine reminded me of something that is so true. As we got a problem here, we got to try to get out of. When you're talking about great hitters, obviously the first guy most of the time pops in your mind is, Ted Williams. But there were a lot of guys tell you Stan Musial and Joe DiMaggio were right there.
Well, I think Willie Mays has to be in that class.
Willie Mays, a lot of people tell you that maybe the best player that ever lived.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Willie and Babe Ruth, because of Babe Ruth's prowess in pitching as well as hitting. Talking about a guy that had the all-time record for consecutive scoreless innings in the World Series before he decided to take hitting seriously, and we know the rest is history at 714 home runs.
Well, there are also a lot of guys that will tell you today that I've never met this guy and I don't want to meet him. That maybe the best player that ever lived, Barry Bonds.
He was terrific.
I'm talking about that ever lived.
Well, he was a Hall of Famer at Pittsburgh.
Before.
Yep.
The 0-2.
Nice stop by Wellington. Rondon is not an easy man to catch because, number one, he throws very hard. Number two, he and you don't always know where it's going. Marisnik coming down the line. And he can take all the lead he wants because Yomer's not even in the same area code.
He gone. 1 out.
Good slider down and in. Reddick over the top. So one good hitter disposed of, and Reddick has been very quiet today at 0 for 3.
Sack still packed, and here's a good little player. Alex Bregman. A walk, a single, and a rocket down to Sanchez at third.
Bregman's another one of those hitters that you don't like to face for the simple reason that there's a very good chance you can't strike him out.
He showed up pretty good in the World Series.
Yeah, he's just a good, solid, and very tough player. He's got 86 at bats this year. He's fanned 12 times. He's walked 12 times. Now he's walked more than he's fanned because he did walk in the first inning. So 13 walks, 12 strikeouts. Anytime you get in that territory with the idea of launch angle and hitting home runs and making sure that you're taking a good healthy cut each and every time, you get close to walks and strikeouts, you become a very valuable man on the team.
That one at 96 fouled away. So the count 2-1.
Nate Jones loosening in the pen, and Bregman last year led the AL third baseman in fielding percentage. That was at .970, so that glove work in this series is not an aberration.
Oh, he got a good pitch to hit there.
He got a hanging slider right down the middle.
Lordy.
And fouled it straight back. Watch it again, and that one is right there, hittable, and nope, fouled it straight back.
Those getting me over breaking balls have a tendency to go a long way.
They do that, especially that last one, but he got under it.
Take him right here. Nope. Softly hit.
Looks like a Kansas City offense only in that they shorten their swing when they get to 2 strikes. And I'm talking about guys like Altuve and Bregman. And Bregman showed it to you. That was a battling at bat against a tough right-hander. And that's going to be it as Rondon will exit this one. It's a 2-run game, and we'll step out and be back after these messages. Wintrust.com/White Sox to learn more. Wintrust Community Bank, member FDIC. We got a new pitcher in the ball game, and it's trying to stem the tide. The bases are still loaded. There's only one out, and Nate Jones comes on for the 7th time. He's 1-0 with a minuscule 1.35 ERA. 1 save and 1 opportunity, and this, for all practical purposes, is the save in this one. You get any further behind this ball club, and that's probably the death knell for this game.
Just 1 out. And here is Marwin Gonzalez, a good player, off to a slow start. Hits that one deep. Ground rule double. That's going to score a pair.
Marwin was very quiet up until that.
He's a good player.
He's a very good player because A.J. Hinch knows that he can literally put him anywhere. And he gives you a switch hitter. He gives you a guy that'll put the bat on the ball, and this is the key situation in the game. This one, for all intents and purposes, puts it away. First ball, fastball, drills it over the head of Nicky Delmonico, and Marwin Gonzalez, who hadn't had the ball out of the infield until this, puts a whole lot more daylight between these Astros and our Sox.
So now the infield in. Ducks on the pond, 1 down. Gaddis 0 for 3 with a couple of punch outs. That one at 96. (5-1), Houston on top. (3-0).
It's Will Harris once again, so he should be very well loosened up at this point.
Oh, knocked down, go to the plate. And run scores. Good effort.
Should be a base hit, but we'll have to wait and see. That's a tough play for Tim because he's in. It's a 1-hop rocket. They give him a fielder's choice RBI. Not so sure about that. That was extraordinary effort. Going to his left, just barely 6 in the glove from his knees. That's not a fielder's choice. That's got to be a base hit as the ball swirls away. But we'll see about the scoring down the road. The big factor is it's a 6-1 game and the Astros are pulling away.
Well, in this series so far, they've outscored us 26-2.
This is one of the top 3 teams in all of baseball.
Well, they're the defending world champions, so until they get beat, they're the best team in baseball. Ate him up inside, pops him up. Javi. So here,
Jake Marisnick, the man who started this off with that base hit, and then a couple of walks, a couple of hits, double, runs batted in, fielder's choices, all kinds of stuff.
Even the guys they run off that bench are pretty good players. Boy, I remember back in the 70s when the Yankees were having their heyday, so to speak. You got a 40-man roster with a 25-man active roster, and it looked like they had 40 men available all the time. They just kept running guys off that bench late in the ball game. They were good players.
How about in bygone days when teams had 22 teams in their farm system?
Oh, yeah.
You had to fight through 4 Class A leagues, and I mean, they went on and on and on. They controlled a lot of players in those days, and they kept them around for a long time because once you signed, you were their property forever.
Well, the Dodgers wanted to sign me, and they talked my mom into Kansas City. Talked my mom into signing with Kansas City for a lot less money because the Dodgers, I think, had 26 farm teams.
I mean, it was unbelievable.
3 AAA teams. I think the three first basemen at their AAA teams with Jim Gentile, Norm Locker, and Rocky Thompson.
Hard to get up through the systems in those days.
Two on, two out. 5 have crossed the plate. That's what happens when you got a real solid lineup all the way up and down. Well, when you got a solid lineup, that's a quick strike offense any time in the game. He gone, but some damage is done. 7th inning stretch. It's 6-1 Houston.
Follow him on social media because Jeff and Nationwide is on your side. Will Harris coming in the ball game. On for the 10th time, and he's been very tough. Take a look at those numbers. He's entrusted with a big lead as the Astros trying to sweep the series, and they got a leg up on it. Major league record today, first inning. Giants at Angels. Jaime Barria got Brandon Belt to line out to right on the 21st pitch of the at-bat. That's the most pitches ever seen in one at-bat. 21 pitches as Barria went at Belt. Barria won the battle. Belt, along with Barria, will go to the record books. I remember Alex Cora with a 17-pitch at-bat against Matt Clement in Dodger Stadium. That ended, I believe, with a home run. A wonderful battle between the two, but Barria and Belt outdid him today. 21 pitches in an at-bat. The Giants at Angels. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we've got a special treat for you. It's a White Sox calendar which shows you not only all the days of the month, because what would a calendar be without that, but it shows you who's playing and where they're playing. And so it's a handy thing to have around. You want to come out to the ballpark, you want to see if the Sox are playing at home, or you want to watch us on television and see where we're playing. You can find out with the Chicago White Sox calendar. Remember, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday right here at the ballpark.
Well, we were talking about strikeouts and walks last inning, and Fred Canatero, Olson's brother, sends me a text. White Sox fans, well, older especially, will love is Nellie Fox. Okay, 19-year career. Walked 719 times and struck out 216 times.
That's pretty amazing. And he used that gigantic handled bat. I mean, it seemed like the barrel and the handle were the same size.
Yeah, that U1 was, a lot of guys, Clemente used that U1. Troy Kennan and Jimmy Wynn used a U1. That was at that time the biggest bat going. So here is Leary. He's 0 for 2.
That one right off the foot. So Harris delivers a slider down and in, and Lurie delivers a bunion.
I tell you, that is amazing. 719 walks and 216 strikeouts.
How about that? His season high, Nellie Fox, season high for strikeouts was a whopping 18.
I think Ozzie one year struck out only 20-something times.
Would he walk once?
None. So Leary is going, 1 out.
Marisnick goes to center field. Reddick shifts from right to left. Springer in right field. So Springer started in center. He's in right. Marisnick comes in the ball game, and Reddick moves to left.
So McCullers is gone. Young right-hander with some terrific stuff. 6 innings, 1 run, 8 hits, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. But we owe him 1. I know one thing. He can pitch on my team.
He's a good one.
That
entire staff is a good one. And now Hermie comes out. Wants to take a look at Moncada, who's doubled over. It's a whole new ball game with RBI Baseball 18. RBI Baseball 18 delivers an all-new franchise mode and much more. RBI Baseball 18 is available now, so learn more at rbigame.com. Rated E for everyone.
Yohan's been nursing a sore hamstring. Oh, yeah. Boy, that thing just ate him up. I think it had to hit a little something out there in the infield. It's hard to get that kind of top spin.
I was saying, it took a high kick. Looked like one of those spin serves in tennis. Just goes out to him. A lot of overspin on this one. As soon as it hits, it just starts digging up and hits the thumb of the glove. It is a base hit.
So with 1 on, 1 out, here is Avi. He's 2 for 3. There's another element that goes into this too. You know, when you're struggling like this, it's a young club. It's just almost impossible to tame these young players down from trying to do too much. That's why I think that Rick Gentry is absolutely the perfect guy to be running this show.
Well, Seattle coming in, perhaps the opposition will be a touch easier, although Mariners are a good team also. They're 11-8 coming in. They were only trailing Houston by 2.5 games. Pending action today, so you know that's not a soft team. They got some thunder in that lineup.
There's not a whole bunch of soft teams around anymore. The parity is unbelievable.
Yep. Baltimore really off to a slow start. Corey Kluber defeated the Orioles in Baltimore, so the Orioles now 6-16. They're struggling.
Nice pick by Bregman. Look at this. Boy, that's a heck of one. That's a major league double play right there, and that'll retire the side. So we go to the 8th, trailing by 5. Mercy.
Magnificent in this series. He just eats it up on the backhand. The throw is perfect. It hits Altuve right in the letters while he's standing on the bag, and no chance at all because these guys defensively are just too good. That goes hand in hand with the best pitching staff in baseball, I believe, at this point. Luis Avilan comes into the ballgame for the 10th time, an ERA of .635. Luis has been struggling a bit. Opponent's batting average against at .320. Rolling a few curveballs, but he came out, had a great year last year with the Dodgers. No reason to believe that as the weather heats up, that so will he and the rest of that staff.
There's a chopper to Hopper. And 1 out. Well, you framed that one perfect. Usually when you see a team with a team ERA that's low, you'll see that they also have a terrific defense.
If they don't, then the pitching is even better than it looks. If the defense is not good, I don't think how do you have a 2.28 ERA unless you can pick it?
You can't.
No.
And vice versa, if you've got a real good defense, that pitching ERA is going to come down. So they work off each other. That's one reason we struggle. Our defense has not been good, to say the least. That's high and deep in the right field. We got a man there at the edge of the track, so Altuve is retired. And here is Correa. He's 2 for 2 with a sacrifice fly. Beck that 3 for 3 with a sacrifice fly. 2 for 2 with a walk and a sacrifice fly. Got a lot of red circles and everything else in that 7th inning.
Yeah, I use green, I use red, I use black, and I use an orange neon pen to highlight the runs. And there's far too many of them in the series on the Houston side.
26-2.
Yeah, you usually don't do real well if that's the disparity. But this Houston team is just solid top to bottom. Sox are trying to get to the point that Houston is right now, and they're a few years away yet, but Houston did it just like the Sox are trying to do it, just like Kansas City, just like the Cubs, just like all teams who go through a major teardown and rebuild. You have to suffer through some horrible seasons, and Houston had a couple of dandies. I mean, almost historic losses, and yet here they are, one of the envies of all of baseball.
There's a strike. And the souvenir right side. Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. We're at the top of the 8th. They have 6 runs on 8 hits. We have 1 run on 9 hits. So another walk. And here is Reddick, 0 for 3 with a walk. Breaking ball, grabs the strike. Count evens at 1. And a reminder, starting tomorrow, Seattle comes to town for that 3-game set. Make your plans to be with us here at the ballpark. If you can't, that game will be over. NBC Sports Chicago. In fact, all 3 of those games will be. As we take a look.
Here's our Ram upcoming schedule, and that's what it looks like. Seattle Mariners come to town for 3. Mercifully, these Astros are going to leave. We will see them the first week in July, however. 4-game series in Houston. And that's Guts, Glory, and Ram for the Ram upcoming schedule. Hector Santiago listening in the pen.
I'm glad he's back in a White Sox uniform.
He's provided a very valuable service this year because he saved a lot of arms in that bullpen by going multiple innings in what looked like might be a disaster.
And he's good for a ball club. So that'll be popped up. So Luis has a nice inning. We go to the bottom of the 8th, trailing by 5.
Final in 10 innings. But Joel Booker for the Dash, 4 for 5 with 4 singles. And he is starting to really heat it up.
I think he's the young man that stole home the other day, and either the bottom of the 9th or bottom of the 10th to win the game.
And they also have they had a bunt off, so things going pretty well for the Dash these days as Ken Giles comes into this ball game for the 8th time. ERA an even 3.
Well, in my whole career here, the White Sox, we have never even come close to having this kind of minor league talent. Never.
No, it's best. It has to be the best it's ever been. But you said it perfectly. That guarantees you to get older. It doesn't guarantee you necessarily to get better, but the more volume you have as far as talent, the easier it is.
Well, it gives you a lot of pieces of the puzzle and possible trades.
The Xfinity Kids Zone is accessible from all levels of Guaranteed Rate Field. The space features batting and pitching cages, base running areas, and skill instruction from Chicago White Sox Training Academy coaches. Check out the latest Xfinity technologies, including the X1 platform. So Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV.
Here's DeMonico. Nicky, 0 for 3, 3 flyouts. Takes first pitch strike. Gap out there in right center. Yeah, numbers, if you do the math, numbers will tell you that if you've only got 5 or 6 good prospects in your system, which most clubs don't have much more than that, your percentage of guys who are going to make it are going to be much less than if you got 15 or 20 like we have.
There's a lot of clubs that would like to have like 5 or 6 top of the line prospects. They would gladly settle for that.
Well, they don't have them.
Yeah,
but they would love to have them.
Yeah.
And if you got 15 or 20 good prospects, and we just get 20 or 30% that do make it, that's pretty good.
Well, I talked to Rick and I used 25, so I took the middle ground and I said, if you can get 25% of these guys, looks like this team is going to be a powerhouse. And he says, we believe as an organization with our instructors and the guys that we got back in some of these trades, we can do better than 25%. I said, if you can do that, then you're looking at a World Series championship team.
Or you can be looking at a consistent contender.
Yep. Well, you have to have a little luck to get there, but you can certainly outplay a whole lot of teams with the talent that's down there right now, assuming, and we can't assume anything in this game, but you assume that enough of them are going to take that step forward, that this team should be in very good shape.
Well, it also helps everybody involved in those numbers because of the fact they know what's ahead of them, and it makes them pay the price more. You still have to sacrifice and pay the price to get to the big leagues, unless there are always exceptions, you know, like a Bryce Harper or Mike Trout, guys like that. But those are the exceptions to the rule.
Well, they're both in this case 2 in a generation players. I mean, they came up very close to one another, but you just don't see those guys come up all that often.
And Nicky is out, so 2 down. So here's Castillo. Wellington. He's fouled out to third, and he was drilled hard leading off to fourth, which was unintentional, it appeared to be. And he singled in the sixth. Takes first pitch strike. 6-1 bad guys here in the bottom of the 8th inning. And the count 0-2. Steve told you Corey Kluber beat Baltimore Indians 7-3 over the Birds. Kluber, he's the best pitcher in this league.
He's as consistent as they come. The ERA is now below 2. The Indians weren't hitting the baseball, so I mean 3-1 with that team is pretty good. The Indians will hit, they just haven't hit lately. Kluber doesn't need a whole lot of runs. Giving him 7 is probably, well, in this case, it was a few more than he needed.
Well, if you take Kluber in this league and Kershaw in the other league, those are the 2 best in the game.
Manny Machado with a couple of home runs, and Kershaw off to a slow start, as are the Dodgers, surprisingly.
Got him. All right, 9th inning. We're in trouble.
6-1 Astros. It's been all Astros this series, and Hector trying to get through the 9th inning and turn it over to the offense. There you look at the numbers, on for the 6th time. The ERA at 3.86. Very respectable numbers for a guy that has been working in the middle. The unsung hero of that bullpen, Hector Santiago.
So here's Bregman. He's got a good game, good series, good player. He's one of those guys, the more you see him, the more you like him.
Well, defensively, he's just outstanding down there, and he gets the big hits. He doesn't strike out, so he does a lot of things right, and he's still a very young player out of LSU, so there's some growing to do.
You're seeing more and more there for years and years and years for all you millennials out there. They only had a few good college baseball programs. Of course, ASU, Arizona State, was #1 there for years and years.
SC, Cal State Fullerton,
yeah.
And then more Texas schools started to be really good.
Well,
Texas,
now you got 30 good baseball programs out there. That's out #1. With LSU being one, Florida State, of course. Mike Martin and his crew down there with the Seminoles.
How about Oregon State in a spot you wouldn't associate with good baseball? Oregon State has a terrific program.
How can you know, just to this day, I'm 76 years old, and pretty soon I'll have been in this game for 8 decades, all the parts of 8 decades. I still don't understand how kids from the Midwest and North ever get to the big leagues.
We played 24 games in high school, Hawk, 24 games. 18 of them were under 40 degrees, and many of them were slushy and snowy. That was our whole season in high school.
You know how many games I played on average in some of my freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior years? Average, counting American Legion, high school and everything, 90. Right at 90 games.
You know, look, I think that's great for position players, but I believe that growing up in the Cleveland area as I did helped preserve my arm. Because I think when you play year
you never used it.
Well, I'm serious. When you play year round and you're a pitcher, especially a young pitcher, you put a lot of strain on your arm because you're playing in high school, then you're playing in summer league ball, then you're going and sometimes you play a little fall ball, abbreviated schedule, and before you know it, you're throwing 9-10 months a year. I think that's too much strain for a young pitcher's arm. And
I think numbers will bear what you just said out.
I believe that was true, and I believe it worked, paid benefits for me, and I'm sure I'm not the Lone Ranger as far as other guys who had the same type of upbringing and wound up with pretty substantial major league careers.
I just love it when I see a guy who's from, Midwest, North, and then all of a sudden you throw the Northwest out there into the mix. I just thrill at that. It just amazes me. Yeah, down south, I mean, growing up in Savannah, Georgia, I said we won the state championship in American Legion almost every year. Didn't have that big a high school schedule. But, yes, he gone. 2 down. Between American Legion and then semi-pro. Averaged around 90 games a year. So if you do that, then you're going to strike out a lot. You're going to make a lot of errors. And if you do strike out enough and making the errors enough, pretty soon you don't strike out quite as much and you don't make quite as many errors.
But you see a lot of pitches. I mean, if you're a position player, you see a lot of pitches and you can't really wear anything out with your hands. Once you get over the blister problem, you're going to be fine, but you're getting a chance to see pitches from different pitchers consistently over the years, and I think it really helps prep those young hitters, the Florida players, the Texas players, Southern California players. They play all the time.
Yeah.
And let's take a look further south. Let's talk about the Dominican players. They're playing 12 months a year. These guys are coming to the major leagues sooner than ever before. Now, do they know the game as well? They probably don't, but they learn it here in the major leagues. But as far as reps, they get lots of reps because they're playing all the time. And they don't have a whole lot of smartphones and a lot of iPads and a lot of anything else. They have a lot of baseball, and that's the reason why there's 27% of Latino players in the major leagues, and that number is going up each and every year because these guys just play baseball and they're phenomenal athletes.
Well, they play a different game down there than we play in here in the States. Different game.
They do, and they play it. That's the thing.
That ball hit high and deep.
And way back.
It's 7-1.
The high-speed replay is powered by Xfinity, and this is a bomb. High fastball, hands in, and gone. That is a short, quick stroke for a guy taking it right down on the back. Yeah,
he
brought the hands in and he whacked it.
The worst, you know, guys today, they don't understand. You can hit it as far, if not in some cases further, with short arms than you can by extending. And what's the one word that's taught to so many hitters? Extend. It's the worst word to me. It's the worst word you can tell a hitter. The more you expand, the bigger the swing. That's trouble. So Max is going to come up with his first hit of the game. No, those kids down in the islands, that's one reason they're so aggressive. They don't teach them to go deep in counts. They don't teach them to go. They go up there and they have fun.
Jump on the first ball fastball and hit it hard.
That's why some of the greatest first ball fastballs, most of the greatest first ball fastballs in the game today and in the past were Latins.
Trying to sneak a first ball fastball by Vlad Guerrero, and apparently his son, Vlad Guerrero Jr., is making all kinds of noise in the minor leagues as a chance to be a quality major leaguer in the not too distant future, although he's still very young.
Well, you've heard me say before, the best first ball fastball hitter I ever saw was Vladimir Guerrero. And I don't care where it was. I don't care if it was eye high, ankle high.
No, he had nose to toes, and he covered everything and loved everything. Didn't meet a fastball that he didn't like.
Jake Marisnik. Jake started off that 5-run seventh. Pitch hitting for Derek Fisher with a Kansas City special. Old friend Gary Pettis down at third base coach. Good man. There's Gary. Alex Centron, the coach at first. Dave Hudgens, good hitting coach. He gone, but the long home run by Evan Gattis, and we trail big.
105.4 miles an hour as he cranks it into the corner. Runs it into a 2-base hit. Almost left the ballpark, but a little short. Chris Davinsky goes to the mound, a very valuable member of this team. And the White Sox very familiar with. On for the 10th time, an even 1 ERA. Look at those numbers. Pretty impressive.
When we saw him last year, well, I tell you, he was impressive.
Yep.
So here's Matt with that double that John Walgren just showed you. Takes the strike. Shift is on. Watch out. Down by the camera well at third. And very quickly, 0-2. That was about a 54-footer.
A couple of young fans have gone the distance. They don't care about the score. It's 7-1. They just care that it's a beautiful day at the ballpark. They know better times are ahead. They got school tomorrow.
Off the end of the bat. That classic throwing style vis-a-vis Jose Valentin. So here is Yolmer. He's 2 for 2, and then he was drilled in the back by McCullers. McCullers hit 2. He hit Castillo, which I told you I thought was unintentional, in my opinion. Hitting Yolmer was intentional. But as I said, I wish we had McCullers.
Yeah. There's a lot of teams that wish they had him. At 24 years old, with what stuff he's got, it's really good.
Yeah, he's got some of the best young right-handed stuff in this league. And that's part of the game. If you want to hit somebody, hit them. You got to, you got to. Yeah, if you're the hitter, then if you want to go after him, go after him. Or wait on him after the game. Yolmer with the lone RBI, that coming back in the second inning. So David Novak and George Jacobs picked a click. Chops that one foul down past Debo. And there's ball 4. If you're just tuning in, Ronaldo Lopez started. He was just outstanding. 5 innings, 1 run, 4 hits. He did walk 4. He's got good enough stuff where he walks some guys he can pitch over.
He's done that consistently all year because he's walked more guys than he'd want, but yet nobody squares it up. Tough to score off that young man.
So fortunately, that RBI by Ulmer. And Lopez wanted to get a no decision instead of a loss. He comes in 0-2 with a 1.42 ERA.
Can't buy a win.
McCullers is going to be 3-1. And he came in with a 5.57. But that ERA could be very misleading with the stuff he's got. Uh-oh. And this ball game is over. So the Sox lose the first two coming into the day. We lost the opener 10-0, lose this one 10-1. They scored 5 times in the 7th inning, and we get beat 7-1, and we'll be back.